race in MotoGP. So 4.423 kilometres in length, 2.75 miles is the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto, the 38th successive year on the calendar. Of course, hosted 2 Grand Prix back in 2020. Valentino Rossi has won the most in MotoGP around here 6 times. He was a winner. Honda won 22 times around this magnificent Spanish venue. 13 corners, 8 right, 5 of them left. Of course, the stadium section creating a unique buzz for the world's best riders. Sector 2 features just 1 corner through turn 5 if we sweep into the Pedrosa corner. Into the stadium section you come, then through turn 8 and 9. The Alex Crivier corner, that's a fast one through turn 11. Most demanding braking points up the hill to turn 1, into turn 6, and that final corner into turn 13, with turn 5 stressing those Michelin tyres more than any other corner on the track. Overtaking hot spots, plenty of them, turns 1, 6, 9 and 13. Are we going to get more late drama into the final corner? This was 1 year ago. World champion Pecco Bagnaia making it back-to-back Spanish Grand Prix wins on the inside of Binder and the final turn. Coming up next then in MotoGP, Jorge Martin looks to keep the heat on his rivals after a chaotic and crazy sprint win moves him 29 points clear in the title race. At the circuit that nearly ended his career in 2020, Marc Marquez is beginning to look a serious threat in just his 4th Ducati start. He starts from pole. The Shark is smelling more blood as Pedro Acosta aims for a 3rd successive Sunday podium to keep his awesome start to 2024 on track. And looking to bounce back from an early sprint exit, Pecco Bagnaia aims to gate crash the Spanish party and win for the 3rd year in a row in Jerez. It was crazy, it was chaotic, it was a wild ride in the 12-lap Tissot sprint in Jerez yesterday. World champion Pecco Bagnaia caught in a tangle with Brad Binder and Marco Bezzecchi, tandem crashing on some tricky damp patches. Saw Alex Marquez, Brad Binder, Maverick Vinales and Enea Bastianini crash out of contention. Marc Marquez, having taken his 93rd pole position in a damp earlier qualifying session, crashed out of the lead into turn 9. He recovered to finish inside the top 6 despite this late contact, which saw him get a 1 position drop penalty. But it was Jorge Martin who takes an 11th Tissot sprint victory, 12 podiums in a row, and that is why coming into this 25-lap Estrella Galicia 00 Grand Prix of Spain, the Martinator sits in a pretty position, sitting pretty at the top of the championship, 29 points clear of the chasing pack. These were the scenes a good few hours ago now here in Jerez, 6:30 a.m. The hillsides and the grandstands all jam-packed hours before the start of race action was underway with a thrilling Moto3 battle. That's at 6:30 a.m. What time did those fans have to leave their hotels or the campsites to get some of the best vantage points you will see in the Grand Prix World Championship schedule? There is no place quite like Jerez on a Sunday race day. Nothing else really comes close. It really does make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And those fans, having waited patiently for the main event, are going to see the modern day superstars in MotoGP do battle over 25 laps. Will there be home glory for the likes of pole starter Marc Marquez, who has led the last 2 events in MotoGP but blown the lead? He led briefly in the Austin Grand Prix when he was looking for an 8th success at the Circuit of the Americas. He led for 2.5 laps in yesterday's Tissot sprint before he handed a gift to Jorge Martin, who did not have the speed to make it that 11 Tissot sprint, which we eventually did get. Not a spare blade of grass, not an inch of tarmac to be had in the surrounding car parks. MotoGP fans have come in their thousands. They are here in their droves. This is not only the biggest sporting event on the planet today, this is the biggest party on planet Earth here today. A capacity sell-out crowd enjoying some sunshine in southern Spain. We've already seen two cracking races in Moto3 and in Moto2. And in the company of Matt Burton, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box, Simon Crayfire down in pit lane, we start our build-up towards the Premier Class showdown. Pedro Acosta, first Tissot sprint yesterday, having come through from 10th place on the grid, rocketed himself up into second in the World Championship, but it has already been a dramatic race day for Pedro Acosta after a big scare, Lewis, this morning at turn 7 in the 10-minute warm-up session.
Probably the biggest crash of Pedro Acosta's MotoGP career so far. Here it is, first thing this morning in the warm-up session as he was sent careering into the air fence. Fortunately, immediately Pedro Acosta was moving his hands and kicking his feet to get himself out of the air fence. He, unbelievably, is seeing the funny side of that crash as he tells his crew chief Paul Trevathan all about it. Pedro Acosta has so far taken absolutely everything in his stride so far in MotoGP, so not expecting that to have phased him too much, but far from the ideal preparations for his first home Grand Prix as a MotoGP rider.
Spain awaits. Spain is expectant as they wait to see if there is going to be a home hero. A couple of them right there in the middle of your picture, working for our Spanish colleagues DAZN TV. Five-time world champion Jorge Lorenzo, who's had plenty of epic fights here in the past in MotoGP, and might have another fight in his hands as well, challenging Danny Pedrosa to a boxing match, believe it or not, in the build-up to this Jerez round. A key moment, a little bit of a controversy to say the least. Pecco Bagnaia feeling this moment. Marco Bezzecchi going through on his inside, eventually on the outside. Brad Binder then firing on the inside of the two Italians. Bagnaia coming out by far the worst of it. He felt that aggressive move by Brad Binder was worthy of a sanction. The F1 MotoGP stewards declared that a racing incident. But Pecco Bagnaia on the back foot, pressure on Lewis after what's been a pretty disastrous run for him since that brilliant opening night victory in Qatar. It's now 5 successive events where Pecco Bagnaia has not found himself on the podium. I mean, by his normally exceptionally high standards, that's something of a mini crisis.
He's 42 points off the World Championship lead. Now, he's obviously come from further back than that in the past to win a World Championship, and we are still only at round 4 of 21, so hundreds and hundreds of points still to be fought for. But for Pecco Bagnaia, he needs to try and snap this, I guess, losing streak, you could term it as quickly as possible. Speaking of losing, Marc Marquez lost a win yesterday for the second consecutive start, if you include his race in Austin and the sprint here. Marc Marquez crashing out of the lead. You heard the roar and the groans from the crowd when Marc Marquez made that mistake. It looked as if he was starting to check out and pull clear of Jorge Martin. But another win goes begging for Marc Marquez, and that wasn't the end of the story for the 93 yesterday.
Yeah, he said he was, what, 10 centimetres offline. Clipped damp patch, he said, was no wider than 20 centimetres. Fine margins, the difference between hero and zero in Jerez for Marc Marquez. This is his charge back into point scoring contention in Jerez, which is fair to say didn't really please Miguel Oliveira and Joan Mir, who were on the receiving end of some typical Marquez aggression. He eventually did take the checker flag in 6th place in that Tissot sprint yesterday. There were 15 crashes, 5 riders remounted, 5 riders got tyre pressure penalties. Let's go down to pit lane though and get a bang up-to-date information on Pedro Acosta and how he's feeling going into this Spanish Grand Prix after that big scary crash at turn 7. I'd like to say joining Simon down in pit lane is the boss, Nico Goyon.
He is with me. Nico, really curious after that high-speed crash. Is Pedro completely okay to start the race physically?
Yeah, hopefully no problem. The Afghans play their great role, and Pedro has no issue at all. So this is he's safe. We rebuild the bike. We are 100% ready for this race.
great news and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Nico Goyon. Relief all round then for the Spanish fans, and a lot of them. I've seen a whole bunch of shark t-shirts, shark caps, and a lot of inflatable sharks as well. He has got an army, a growing army of support, hasn't he? Pedro Acosta, not just in Spain, but of course all around the world. He's been the star of the show so far in 2023. Who would have thought it? Coming into the Spanish Grand Prix, round 4 on Sunday race day, second in the World Championship.
Yeah, it feels like the sky is the limit for Pedro Acosta, moving into second in the championship after the Red Sea parted for him yesterday when 4 riders, or 5 riders actually, in 2 laps crashed out of his way, 4 on the same lap, including this man Marc Marquez. You just saw his sprint crash a few moments ago. Pedro Acosta, though, has the work all to do again this afternoon. He is arguably already MotoGP's expert overtaker from what we've seen already this season. He's going to need to be today, coming from 10th on the grid.
It is some atmosphere, and it's only building to a crescendo just before it's lights out. 2 p.m. local time here. In just over half an hour's time, we'll be racing in MotoGP. 917 days since Marc Marquez was last on the top step of a Sunday Grand Prix podium. That was at the Emilia-Romagna round in Misano back in 2021. Is it written in the stars? Is it fate after what happened to him here in 2020 that he returns to winning ways here in Jerez? This time last year, Brad Binder was about to cap off a sensational weekend in Spain. A double podium after second in the sprint, second in the Grand Prix. Hasn't had it all his own way so far this weekend, despite him saying the KTM underneath him feels the best it has done all season. Binder crashing out, one of several riders to be caught out by the damp patch at turn 5 yesterday. He goes from 4th place on the grid. He also crashed on Saturday morning at turn 7 in the rain. Tough times, of course, difficult times for Honda as they tried to fight their way out of their current slump. And let's get some pre-Spanish Grand Prix thoughts from a former Jerez Grand Prix winner himself, HRC boss Alberto Puig with Simon.
Yes, Matt Bird just reminded us of your win here, Alberto. More pleasant times. I know it was a long time ago. Please tell us what the situation is at the moment. I'm looking at the machines on the left of me, your Repsol Hondas, and I'm looking at the HRC machine, and it's quite a lot different. How hard are your guys working?
Yeah, we are working hard, but still with not the results we would like. But we are clearly not sleeping. And we are trying really hard. We are trying constantly because we have, for this year, we have this concession, so we are more able to be more on the bike. So this is what we are doing. We are working, but true is also that still we could not find or the results we need and we expected.
It's very different aero all over the HRC bike. I can see slot, the frame's been cut and welded by the looks. There's different aero on the back of the seat. I'm hoping that you've got some leads there, but I imagine more importantly tomorrow, do Honda have lots of tests, lots of equipment to test at the Monday test tomorrow?
We have some things to test that probably will give us some direction, but as I tell you, Simon, it's important that people understand that we are not sleeping. We are trying, but sometimes in life you try and it takes time to get where you want. So only thing we can do is what we are doing. We don't give up and we keep trying. And hopefully soon we will find some improvements.
Just before I let you go, the goals for your riders today, I've got to say I was impressed with our giant Zarco's effort so far this weekend. What would you like to see your riders do?
Well, I mean, starting from the last rows, it's very difficult. But if they can have a good start and at least go in a group and fight with some other riders, it would be good for them, also good for us to understand that, I mean, a rider in a race sees many things, but if you're alone, you see nothing. So that would be, I mean, we cannot expect much, but if they can fight in some group, all of them, somewhere around some groups, that would be it for today.
Great stuff, Alberto, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to HRC boss Alberto Puig. As we mentioned, the build of Honda, 22 times they won races here in Jerez. don't expect them to make it 23. Look at this fight back yesterday by Danny Pedrosa and Fabio Quartararo, starting 16th and 23rd respectively, capitalising on all the carnage that was to unfold in front of them. When it went all the way down to the final lap, though, the pair of them had no clue, really, that they were fighting with the podium. Danny Pedrosa, in particular, didn't realise. At this moment, fourth place he was, behind Fabio Quartararo. Unfortunately, Quartararo, having gone from 23rd to 3rd with a sensational ride, was later given an 8-second penalty for a tyre pressure infringement. But rather cheekily, he signed the back of the bronze medal, said, "Enjoy, Danny," and later on last night he did present it to the 38-year-old Spaniard, who, shall we say, is now a podium finisher for the first time in MotoGP since Valencia back in 2017, and KTM gave him his own private podium celebration in between their race trucks here in Jerez last night. Just one note on Alberto Puig, actually. He was the first Spanish rider to win a Premier Class Grand Prix here at Jerez back in 1995.
And they've won plenty since. Will they win another today? Of course, the last couple of Spanish Grand Prix have been won by Italians, and we've seen victories for Australian, we've seen victories for Frenchmen since that point, but we haven't seen a Spanish winner of the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez since. Marc Marquez won here 5 years ago. There are some of these sharks that you mentioned that Pedro Acosta is certainly counting amongst his ever-growing fan club. They have jammed this place to the rafters for the Spanish Grand Prix. A capacity crowd for the Spanish Grand Prix. MotoGP on the crest of a wave after a stunning start to 2024. Well, we've had 3 different winners in the first 3 Grand Prix. Are we, for the first time since 2008, going to see 4 different winners in the first 4 Grand Prix races of a season?
Doesn't matter how young you are, doesn't matter how old you are, Jerez, the Spanish Grand Prix, is always the place to be on Sunday race day. That is the shot of a circuit which was first built back in 1986, the first Spanish Grand Prix here held 1 year later in 1987. Next door to the Monte Castillo Golf Club, designed by none other than Jack Nicklaus, of course. Thumbs up then from Top Gun Maverick Vinales as he tries to make it back-to-back podiums for the first time since his opening 2 Yamaha starts back in 2017. Now then, this Grand Prix last year, this very race day, was a great one for KTM, with both Jack Miller and Brad Binder on the podium. And what are they expecting over 25 laps coming up shortly? Well, let's get some thoughts from KTM Motorsport Director Pit Byra, who joined Simon.
He does. Pit, I was going through who I would pick for the podium today, and I have to say Brad is a consideration. I believe he can have a good go at that 3rd step. I imagine he's thinking ahead of that. I'd like your thoughts on that. As his machine's going to get fired up in a moment, it's going to get noisy, but also about Jack this weekend. I've noticed quite a few things happening there. Guys, we might have to pop back in a moment.
Yeah, the bikes are just being fired up, as you can see from down in pit lane. So we'll pick it up again shortly with both Simon and Pit Byra. A Jerez hat-trick is on the cards for Pecco Bagnaia. Bad news for Bagnaia fans. In the 4-stroke MotoGP era, nobody's ever won from lower than 5th place on the grid, including Bagnaia himself when he did it here 1 year ago. He goes from 7th place on the grid. Doesn't bode well. He does it for Pedro Acosta. We know he's been delivering overtaking exhibitions so far in the first 3 Grand Prix, but he's coming from the head of that 4th row in 10th place. No, okay, yeah, Nico Goy on the team bus did say he's feeling okay, but he's going to be a little bit battered and bruised after that heavy crash at turn 7 this morning. And when you have a crash like that as a rookie, inevitably that is going to jolt your confidence. Don't care what anybody says. We know that Acosta, whatever test or exam's been thrown at him so far this year, he's passed it with flying colours, but this is another big one, isn't it? As we get some shade on part of the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto, I think it's probably quietened down sufficiently enough now in pit lane. Are you ready to pick it up again with Pit, Simon?
I can. We're just heading to Brad's position, but I can stop Pit here, I reckon, just past, in case we get run over by a bike in a moment. Got to get to a safe spot. Here he is. But if you could give your thoughts on both your riders, as I was mentioning, Brad looking really strong today, and we know what he comes out, you know, fighting. Jack, I've seen a bunch of things and didn't want to seem biased and make up excuses for Jack, but it looks like he's having a tough time with a kind of bad luck series of incidents. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the case, yeah. Brad was so motivated going into the season, but then breaking a bone in his foot before America was the wrong moment, so he really had a lot of pain there. I feel he wanted to show really strong here this weekend, then Friday started kind of bad and the crash yesterday, but I feel he has something special to show today. So I feel he will be the old Brad attack today. I'm totally sure. And also with Jack, yeah, he's coming a bit like he was off during last year, and he's fighting so hard to come back, but things just don't come together, and we need now a happy, you know, a good race, like to build confidence again. It's there. He shows us so many good sectors and laps. We need to put everything together, and yeah, I feel also Jack can show something today.
Just a quick word on your other team, the Gas team, Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, the boy is just amazing. I mean, what he does with our bike, I mean, it's just amazing. If you look to the data, where he goes, he just rides with that bike wherever he wants, and where all the other riders struggle, he's going the right way. And even yesterday with all the crashes, when everybody complained, he just comes back and says, yeah, there were wet spots, you need to go around them, you cannot ride over them. Like, I mean, he takes it so cool and enjoys what we all love, riding a motorcycle. Just enjoy, and that's also refreshing for us. And he's a super boy. I mean, he's our Superman, yeah.
Pit, thanks for your time. Good luck today.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Pit. Thanks, Simon. He's our super boy. Well, he needs a superhuman performance today, doesn't he, to come from 10th place on the grid to win here in Jerez for the first time on a Sunday since the opening Grand Prix of 2023, the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao. Marc Marquez finds himself in pole position, his first pole here in Jerez in 10 years since 2014. Marco Bezzecchi, his first front row start of the season as well, looking to make amends. Still pointless in the sprints so far this year. He was another rider, Lewis, that's taken a fairly hefty tumble at turn 7 this weekend.
Yeah, both of the VR46 Ducati riders without a point in Tissot sprints so far this season. Bezzecchi went down in the sprint yesterday after that 3-rider collision, which ultimately took Pecco Bagnaia out of proceedings. But Bezzecchi going from second on the grid. It's fair to say that he and Marc Marquez aren't exactly the best of friends. They won't be sharing a beer together later on this evening, whatever happens. But there's no question that Marco Bezzecchi is getting to grips now with that GP23. It wasn't exactly a seamless transition for last year's third-place finisher in the World Championship, but Marco Bezzecchi looks much more like it now as we get ready to take a look at the grid, where Marc Marquez starts from pole position. Bezzecchi and Martin alongside him, the World Championship leader by 29 points. Brad Binder fourth from Fabio Di Gianantonio, and Alex Marquez, who also crashed out of the sprint yesterday. Third row is where we find the reigning world champion, Pecco Bagnaia, in 7th place. Frankie Morbidelli starts alongside him after equaling his best ever sprint result yesterday. And Enea Bastianini, one of those 3 to crash together at turn 5 in the sprint, starts 9th. Pedro Costa 10th for Maverick Vinales, looking to take back-to-back victories after his win in Jerez. The 4th row completed by Aleix Espargaro, John Zarco, Miguel Oliveira and Jack Miller on row 5. Danny Pedrosa, sprint podium finisher yesterday, from 16th. Raul Fernandez and Augusto Fernandez start next door to him. Honda wildcard Stefan Bradl starts 19th from Joan Mir and Lorenzo Savadori. Luca Marini 22nd. Fabio Quartararo searching for another miracle from 23rd on the grid. He has Taka Nakagami and Alex Rins behind him.
Yeah, 25 riders then starting this Spanish Grand Prix. There is the helicopter shot. And what a shot that is as well. You have to be patient to get back into downtown Jerez tonight, because there's going to be some traffic jam. Of course, the teams and riders staying for a very important post-race test session here at the Circuito de Jerez. Angel Nieto, Pedro Acosta. Well, every round so far this season, he's been able to pass and overtake Marc Marquez. He'll be going some to do that here today. Just pausing there as well as we hear the fans ramp up the atmosphere, the tension getting ramped up. There are some more pretty obvious Pedro Acosta fans with the shark attire as we move away from the Circuito de Jerez Ángel Nieto and go seaside in sunny Spain. Not a million miles away at all here, are we, from the coast in Andalusia, in the zone, getting himself fully focused. There is Pedro Acosta, the youngest rider in Premier Class history to take back-to-back podiums, led for the first time in MotoGP last time out at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Brad Binder, fourth on the grid. The South African, 29 points he scored in that brilliant season opener in Qatar, but there's only 20 come his way since, and he's slipped down from second in the World Championship to 6. So Binder looking for a big day after his early bath in the sprint yesterday.
Yeah, he needs some points, doesn't he? Badly. Finished 9th in the end in Austin last time out, but that wasn't exactly what Brad Binder got on the plane to Austin for, and hasn't scored points in any of the last 3 Tissot sprints, as you say. And as a result of that, he's fallen off the pace now. 6th in the World Championship for Brad Binder. As we head back down to the grid to get a word from the Marc Marquez camp, starting from pole, is crew chief Frankie Carcetti's with Simon.
Frankie, it was almost yesterday. I really would like to know what you think possibilities are today with Marc.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities, I think since Portimao we've had the possibility for, the good one. Just a bit like yesterday, I think the only thing that makes me nervous is, there's still a few patches that with water seeping in places, and it's, everything else is under control. Well, that's one thing you can't control, so we'll see what happens.
Frankie, thank you and very best of luck.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Marc Marquez, the crew chief, Frankie Carcetti. Yes, the problem areas in the sprint yesterday with the damp patches, turn 5, turn 8 and turn 9. Marc Marquez not had a dry podium in MotoGP since that classic Australian Grand Prix at the back end of 2022 at Phillip Island. He's only had 3 top 6 finishes since that memorable day when Alex Rins won for the factory Suzuki team. Pecco Bagnaia then comes back to the grid. He knows all about the winning here in Jerez. 2022 Spanish Grand Prix winner, 2023 Spanish Grand Prix winner, went on to win the World Championship, of course, in both. The Marquez fan club, they are out in numbers. They're outnumbering every other rider and some here in their home Grand Prix. Is today finally the day that their hero will be back on the top step of the podium? He's not finished lower than second in the last 3 Spanish Grand Prix, says Bagnaia, the 27-year-old Italian. What a sight that is. As we mentioned, there are thousands and thousands of motorcyclists who come from all 4 corners of Spain and all over Europe as well. It's a bucket list event for so many, and they really do whip up one of the most special atmospheres of the entire season. Maverick Viñales sort of had the wind knocked out of his sails after dominating the Cota Grand Prix weekend. Back-to-back Tissot sprint wins in Portimao and Austin. Didn't go his way in the sprint yesterday. Felt like only Marc Marquez and Jorge Martin were quicker. But of course, Viñales has a lot of work to do. He's even further adrift than Bagnaia and Acosta. 11th, middle of the 4th row. Big ask for Viñales to win for the first time in Jerez in MotoGP.
Not for the first time in recent years. Aprilia appear to have all the cards and all the pace and all the performance, but foiled by the weather. Maverick Viñales was up inside the top 3 on Friday and was certainly eyeing a front row start for this Grand Prix. The rain that affected qualifying completely sunk the Aprilias and left Espargaro and Viñales on the 4th row. Valentino Rossi, a former winner here himself, sharing a word with the winner of the last 2 Spanish Grand Prix, Pecco Bagnaia. If he makes it a hat-trick this afternoon, he will have produced quite a comeback. 7th on the grid. He has to stay out of trouble in those early stages. Of course, he couldn't stay out of trouble yesterday in the Tissot sprint. Trouble came and found him at the first corner, but the reigning world champion needs to reverse the momentum at the moment, which is all in favour of his chief title rival from last year and this year, Jorge Martin.
6-time MotoGP winner here in Jerez was Valentino Rossi back in his illustrious career. Of course, back in 2020, we saw him stand on the podium for the final time as a MotoGP rider. He's carving out a pretty decent career on four wheels for himself right now. And speaking of four wheels, a couple of very special guests here this weekend. Carlos Sainz, of course, a two-time World Rally champion, four-time Dakar winner, here with his son, a current star of Formula One, a race winner already so far this season, Ferrari's Carlos Sainz Jr. all enjoying this special atmosphere here in Jerez.
Yeah, this really does get the shivers down your spine, the goosebumps on your arms. An atmosphere unlike any other MotoGP at its very, very best. And an absolute sellout crowd for the Spanish Grand Prix. We're just under 15 minutes away now from the start of the Grand Prix. And is it going to be another double for Jorge Martin? Yet to taste the double so far in 2024. Starts from third on the grid, and he's got a serious job ahead of him with Marc Marquez, clearly with race-winning potential.
Let's go down on the grid then very quickly. Simon Crafar is joined by... Oh no, I was just thinking that Simon was just about to be joined by Carlos Sainz. We're not quite ready for what should be pretty special news. We just saw that, and we're still looking at him. Jorge Martin, 26-year-old Spaniard, 18 sprint podiums in 23, including 11 wins. He's going for his fifth double. Did the doubles last year in Sachsenring, Misano, Motegi and Buriram, but he's only ever had one Grand Prix podium here previously as Martin. That was a third in the opening race here in 2022 in Moto 2. The fans, we've got a Mexican wave in the main grandstand in front of us. The fans that are in front of our commentary box, but we've got a wonderful spot here overlooking the grid in Jerez. They're getting built up for the atmosphere by a regular fan here in Jerez who turns up in
yes,
sort of like...
There
he is, right on cue. He turns up in the very distinctive red overalls, and he basically, throughout the whole weekend, just makes revving noises through that megaphone.
With the Red Bull KTM stickers on his megaphone, do you think he's a Pedro Acosta fan?
He's a proper cheerleader, isn't he, for the fans here in the main grandstand. I'm not saying that I'd like to be sort of sat next to him for the entire 3 days of a Grand Prix weekend, but there is no denying it, certainly on a race day here. He does bring a bit of atmosphere to the main grandstand here. Very, very popular figure. I've seen him signing autographs and doing as many selfies, I think, of what's in Pedro Acosta here this weekend. Just a couple of minutes away then, we are from the national anthem. Of course, the traditional pre-race ceremony with the race-winning prize on display, and also the biggest prize in motorcycle racing, the Tower of Champions. Will Jorge Martin add his name to that list? 29 points clear in the championship. Doesn't matter what happens over the course of the next hour or so here in Andalusia. Jorge Martin will be the World Championship leader when we reconvene at the French Grand Prix in Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time. What a start it has been for Martin. Not finished lower than fourth so far this season. 92 points he's already picked up so far this season. All the dignitaries are gathering then at the front of the grid. Maverick Vinales just taking on some liquid, taking on some refreshment, trying to keep himself cool. A lot cooler here in Jerez than it was here last year when we came in the midst of a proper European heat wave. Ambient temperature only around 20 degrees here on race day today, as Vinales, his first win in 57 Grand Prix in Kota last time out. He did it from 11th in Sector 1. Well, he's going to have to repeat that performance here this afternoon, going from 11th on the grid in Jerez. Marc Marquez then comes to pole position for the 93rd time in his Grand Prix career. We're going to take a short break now for the national anthem.
This is MotoGP, this is the Spanish Grand Prix, this is the hottest ticket in town on this spectacular Sunday afternoon in southern Spain. And a Spaniard starts from pole position. A Spaniard leads the MotoGP World Championship. They battled with each other at the front of the Tissot Sprint yesterday. Jorge Martin, your World Championship leader, claimed that victory. Marc Marquez is out for revenge this afternoon. Carlos Sainz, a star of four wheels, is here to take in the action. The Ferrari star is with Simon on the grid.
He is, Carlos. Really curious, after a great start to your season, I'm wondering what you think of our two-wheeled motorsport, why you like it.
Well, first of all, I'm a big fan of the sport. Since I'm a kid, since I'm 5 years old, I've been watching Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP all my life. Every weekend that I can, I watch it. And yeah, I think that you guys have had a stellar start of the season too. The race in Austin was mega, and always enjoy watching.
One more thing, is there riders in particular you support?
Obviously, as a Spaniard, you need to understand, no, that I support the Spanish ones. We also have plenty of them to support, so sometimes it gets a bit complicated. But no, in general, I just admire the sport, the heroics they do on top of the bike, the risks they take, so maximum respect.
Thank you for your time. Enjoy the day.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to hear from Carlos Sainz, Ferrari Formula One driver. Sainz Senior and Junior enjoying the build-up to this Spanish Grand Prix. No question where his allegiance is like as he walks over to Marc Marquez, just posing for some photos. Great to see him here. Most Formula One drivers actually do have a passion and affection for MotoGP. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, pretty handy on two wheels. He's done a couple of PR missions, hasn't he, with Valentino Rossi, a new all-time record. What about that? Thank you so much, MotoGP fans. Nearly 300,000 fans have attended the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. Thank you for making history with us. That is why we love this sport so much. Over to you, Le Mans. Your record has been broken. Jorge Martin then, World Championship leader, 29 points clear of the chasing pack. There he is on screens. Let's get some pre-race thoughts from his boss, Gino Borsoi.
Gino, awesome day yesterday. It feels like it's going to be a close one today. Please give us your thoughts, Jorge and Frankie.
Well, for sure, Frankie and Jorge did a really good race yesterday, and especially Jorge due to a really difficult condition of the track. Today seems quite similar of yesterday. There is some patches again, and they have to pay attention, especially at the beginning of the races. And then let's see. The pace on Friday was quite good, but we know we have a lot of actors during this weekend can jump on the podium. So we need to think about the championship for sure. We don't need to make any stupid mistake. And let's see what's going on during the race. I think he have a speed, but if it's possible, we have to just try to not make any stupid mistake.
Thank you, Gino.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Gino Borsoi. Well, so far, so good. Jorge Martin has not made any mistakes, let alone stupid mistakes so far this season. Off the podium just once, looking for what would be only his second win in the last 7 Grand Prix since that Buriram Classic, to properly seize early control of this year's World Championship. That is what a record MotoGP crowd looks like on a Super Sunday here at the Gran Premio Australia Galicia 00 de España. The old Ryanair flight leaving there. I'll be on one of those tomorrow out of Seville tomorrow. Hopefully with the memory of a fantastic Spanish Grand Prix in the brain as well. Not a spare blade of grass, not an empty seat in the house. Not, well, so much pressure, so much tension. Jorge Martin, third on the grid. Pedro Acosta 10th. Enea Bastianini. Let's go quickly down to Simon.
Yes, you know, I mentioned about the tyre pressures yesterday being difficult to predict, you know, what to do with front tyre pressure. A lot of people got caught out yesterday, namely Fabio, you know, top of the list. And today, I think, with this extra heat, it's easy when they're trying to play safe to go too high, and we might see some results from that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. 5 minutes to race start then. Look at that, what a shot that is. The hillside's packed, the grandstand's packed. Oh, we're going to get another incident and action-packed Spanish Grand Prix. Marc Marquez on pole position. Spanish Grand Prix were in 2014, 2018 and 2019. Your front row of the grid then here in Jerez. Jorge Martin looking to build on his 29-point World Championship lead. First time he's on the front row of the grid in 2024 for Marco Bezzecchi. But on pole position for the first time since Portimao 13 months ago. Number 93, pole position number 93 for Marc Marquez in his beloved Jerez.